Fantastic.
Thank you.
Well, welcome to Guitar Conversations. On the Guitar Conversations sofa today, joining me is a very dear friend of mine. We've worked together many times over the years. A master of alternate tuning, would you say? Alternative tuning.
Open tunings, alternative tuning, alternate tuning, alternate accordature aperte.
Ah, sì, grazie.
Prego.
And also wonderful composer and guitar educator, the one and only Peppino D'Agostino.
Oh, it's nice to be here with you, Martin, for sure.
Good to see you. We've actually just finished, we're here in California, and we just finished our annual guitar retreat in Benicia, which is our third time, isn't it?
I think it's the fourth time, if you consider the one that we did in Atrani, Amalfi Coast.
Oh, of course, yeah, of course we did. We did
total
Italy.
of 4, and it's been a joy and a source of incredible learning experience. It's been a learning experience being there
Yeah.
with you, for sure.
Yeah, it's really been quite amazing. Talking of Italy, of course, that's where your life started. I mean, you've lived in America for a long time, but
Yeah.
so tell me about that when you were when you were a kid and you became fascinated with the guitar. And was you and your brother used to play in the church together?
Oh, you're close.
Is it
Getting
close?
You're getting
Well, you
close.
you tell us.
I'll tell you. So I was 10 years old, and I have a cousin. His name is Peppino. There's not a lot of imagination as far as names in my family, but my cousin played the guitar, and he played in a band. So there was bass, guitar, and drums, and he invited me to see him. So I went there, and he was playing a guitar, an Italian guitar brand, and this guitar was really a beautiful guitar. It was a sunburst color, and so already I thought, wow, that's a beautiful guitar. And then he started playing, and I was looking at his fingers and hearing the sound, and I felt I want to do that. And I was 10 years old, and I think my cousin really understood that I was really hypnotized by the sound of the guitar. And he talked to my mother, and they
Yeah.
bought me this very inexpensive guitar, and it was an interesting guitar because it was green. The color was green.
Yeah.
It was a classical guitar with steel strings, and the action was about this high. So I started developing, a lot of muscle, and now you can tell I have.
I think I had the same
yeah.
guitar as you. Yeah, yeah. Yeah, I had one of those guitars, and the one I had, they were made in Russia.
Mm.
My dad bought it on a market, and I came home one day with it, and it had a bolt-on neck, and the action was up here somewhere with strings, and my fingers actually started to bleed, and so it should have put me off ever playing the guitar, but I think it was actually quite a good thing. If I'd have been given a really good guitar, maybe I'd thought. I remember the first time I played a really good guitar, I thought there was something wrong with it because it was just so easy. So you had one of those guitars too.
I had
What
one
was the
of them.
first thing you played?
I think the first thing that I did was actually to compose a piece.
So right from the beginning.
Right from the beginning, I can play it for you. It's going to
Please.
last probably 15 seconds.
Okay.
Okay? There you go.
Yeah.
You like it?
Yeah.
You do like it?
Yeah, I do like it.
Well,
I think if you'd have plugged that into a big stack, had a full on real bass backbeat,
it could
you'd have made a fortune with that. You could have
3 notes.
you could have had like a power trio. I think it would have been good. Play it again for me. No, that was it.
So my mother said, "Oh, of course, my parents were very supportive in the beginning." So Peppino, that's a great piece. I was only 10 years old, and
Yeah.
I got excited. I must be good, so I continued to do what I was doing.
Yeah.
And and then I kept on playing the guitar, and
Did you have
Well-
lessons? Anyone to guide you?
no, not really. I'm self-taught. And what happened is that I kept on playing, and of course I was going to school, and I went to school through high school, and then I went to the university. But my parents wanted me to become a lawyer, and I studied law for a while. But then really, this was too strong of a passion, and at that point, my parents really started really being upset with me because being a musician is difficult. So they wanted for me an easy, traditional way of making a living, but
It was cute and entertaining when you were a 10-year-old.
exactly. But then when they really found and they realized that this was my call, they were upset with me for quite a long time.
But they came round.
They came around eventually when they started seeing that actually I could, I was making a living and performing worldwide and making records. So they started thinking, okay, maybe it's okay.
When you'd written your first piece of music, when you started really getting into the guitar, what were you playing? What were you listening to, and what kind of things were you playing?
Well, I was listening to what was playing on the radio at that point. So, the Beatles music, Santana. I remember starting a little band with my friends playing Carlos Santana's music, but also, Italian songs. At that point in Italy, there was kind of a fashion of putting lyrics to English and American songs, putting Italian lyrics.
Yes.
So, it's interesting because they were using the same background, but they were changing the lyrics.
Did you do any of that? Did you write lyrics in Italian?
I collaborated with a friend of mine, and we actually wrote a bluegrass song in Italian.
Can we hear it?
Yeah, let me
You've
tune
got
the
to change
guitar.
the tuning.
Oh, I'll be fast.
So bluegrass in Italian.
Can you go-
I've got to hear this. I've got to hear it.
Let's see. Let's see. Yeah, it goes. It starts. There's banjo. Remember banjo, a guitar, and then a solo guitarist. So it
Yeah.
was a trio. So
Can I join
now,
in?
huh?
I join in.
You can join me.
Okay.
So I started. Lontano andrò lontano, non so se mai mi fermerò, da Siracusa fino a Milano, United States of Italy vedrò. Take a solo.
I love it.
You like it?
I love it.
Are you sure?
It sounds very cool.
You want to play in my band?
Well, anything
My Italian bluegrass band?
Italian always sounds.
See, I have
great.
the hat. I can get one for you.
I like it. It's good. You so at this point, were you playing electric guitar at the beginning? Because you said you. I know you were very influenced by Carlos Santana.
I did play electric guitar, and I remember using this guitar. It was an Offner guitar, and I also
We all
used
had those in Europe.
Yeah,
Yeah.
of course. It's a German
Yeah.
guitar, right? And then I also use the Echo guitar, EKO,
Yeah.
Italian electric guitar. And yeah, I learned, to play, I remember Samba Pati and Song of the Wind by Carlos Santana. But
Yeah.
then I got really curious about, because Carlos made a record with John McLaughlin called Love, Devotion, and
Yeah.
Surrender. You remember that?
Oh yeah.
And so I got exposed to jazz fusion and listening to John McLaughlin playing that way. I mean, I'm still a big fan of John McLaughlin, and I follow him through, the Mahavishnu and Shakti and all of that. So, but what happened during that time, around that time, is that somebody brought a vinyl from the U.S. It was a Tacoma Records with Leo Katke, Peter Lang, and John Fay. And so I started listening to that, and I love the sound of the acoustic guitar. So I shifted to the acoustic guitar, and I tried to really understand what they were doing.
So that was a turning point.
There was a turning point for me,
Yeah.
definitely. And I started listening to that record and trying to figure it out, like we all did,
Yeah.
with the vinyl and the little needle and stuff.
So you copied their solos, did you?
I tried to copy
Yeah.
them, and I ended up really starting being exposed to those open tunings. Because up to that point, I didn't know that they existed. In fact, when I was trying to figure it out what they were doing, Leo,
Mhm.
Peter Lang, John Fay, I was using a standard tuning, but I was not able to play certain notes, the low notes,
Yeah.
and then I realized, oh, they must change the tuning.
Yeah.
And then I started, really experimenting with open tuning, but that was the turning point for sure.
And then, is that the point when you started writing your own music?
No, as I said, I started when I was 10. I never stopped writing little pieces.
Or right from the beginning?
Right from
Yeah.
the beginning. And I think you are what you eat. Meaning, for a long time, I listened to Marcel Dadi and Chet Atkins.
Yeah.
I was very grateful that Marcel Dadi put the tablature inside the record so that I could actually read what he was playing. So when I was writing my music, it was actually very similar to the Chet Atkins style, and Marcel Dadi and Jerry Reed style.
Can you give us an example of some of that?
Yeah.
One of your compositions.
one of my
from-
compositions in that
from
style?
those days? Yeah, from that.
From that time?
Yeah. Yeah.
bluesy.
What's that called?
It's called Dago Blue,
Okay.
D'Agostino Blues, Dago
D'Agostino.
Blues.
Okay.
But then
Oh,
I
by the way, what's the name of the first tune?
oh,
when
it's
you
called
opened up?
Costa Rica.
Oh, great. That's good because it's good for. I meant to ask you that.
Yeah.
Um,
But then I wrote stuff, Jerry Reed and his style. This is Jerry.
yeah.
So, this style of banjo playing. Then I wrote my piece influenced by that.
Is this when you started to use the thumb pick and fingers?
Yes, because I remember looking at some pictures of Marcel Dadi using the thumb pick, and I said, "What is that?" So I went to a local store and I started using it that way because
Yeah.
also you could damp the bass.
Yeah. See, I started off playing with a flat pick,
Ah.
and then when I started playing fingerstyle, I thought if I put the two together, and somebody suggested to me, they said, try a thumb pick. So I went and got a thumb pick, and I went home and I sat out in the garden, and I started playing, had this thumb pick on, I started playing, I got very excited, and it came off, it pinged, it went into some bushes, and I was looking for it for about half an hour, and eventually I said, "Oh, it's a sign
That I should not play.
Yeah, it's still in a bush somewhere."
Yeah.
So-
Well, I like to say something about that. For certain styles, this I think works really well. But because I play, different styles of music, including some classical music, it's nice to have the flash, that kind of sound on a steel string,
yeah,
kind of a soft.
you can get a lot of different tones. You get the nail, and then just with the flesh.
Exactly. So, and also, yeah, both. Also, flash followed by the nails. I mean, I like to have that kind of palette of sounds.
Yeah.
So sometimes, very often now, I don't use the thumb pick. So. But you didn't ask me what is the title of that.
What's the title? What's the title of that?
I'm very proud of the title.
Okay.
It's called Cowboy Minestrone.
You are the spaghetti western guy.
Yes.
Yeah. So now you get to the point where you're doing gigs and everything in Italy.
Yeah.
Then you decided to cross over to this side of the Atlantic. When did that happen?
Well, it was the sum of different, events in my life. I remember that in 1980, I met this woman from America. We're still good friends, and her name is Carol. I fell in love. She was American, and we started corresponding after that, and I wanted to visit her. So my intention was not really to play music, but to visit her. And so I came the first time, and I actually, as a musician, I was a little intimidating because I thought, to really play music in America, you really need to be extremely talented.
There's some good players here.
So I was intimidated, and I didn't play the very first time. I mean, I had my guitar with me and play for myself, and then I came the second time because I met some American musicians, and I came to visit Carol again. The story with Carol didn't work out, but I started realizing, I can probably make a living here because there was an interest for acoustic guitar. This is like 1985 when I came here, and I remember playing the first gig it was kind of a bar where these American friends of mine said, "Peppino, why don't you play something?" And I started playing, and there was a reaction there, partially because I think it was my accent, and the fact that I play a style of music that is American, really, but I'm Italian. So they were, "What is this thing there on stage?" And so I think that because I'm foreign and my accent, I think people got interested in what I was doing. And also, probably they liked my compositions. And I
think you're being very modest, thinking that it happened because you were some kind of novelty. I think people could hear your talent.
But in the beginning, I think that played a role. I think
I think
I
probably,
have to
yeah.
be obviously. I like to think that people appreciate my music, and I got many different form of approvals. Yeah,
Yeah.
but I think in the beginning that played a role. Martin, my English was zero. I didn't speak English basically.
Sorry, I didn't understand that.
I didn't. You're a bad boy. So it was an interesting time for me, and definitely meeting Dana, my wife, on that trip was very, very important. She really helped me a lot.
And then you went to California, where of course
And that's where I met Dana. Yeah.
the acoustic guitar at that time. There's Michael Hedges. There's a whole renaissance of this.
There was the time
acoustic
when
guitar.
exactly
Yeah.
when Windham Hill was
Yeah.
really popular. So they definitely, Will Ackerman, Alex DeGrassi, and Michael Hedges, all of that. And I was right there when it was happening. Yeah.
Even though you didn't plan it, you actually turned out to be in the right place at the right time, just as that was being part of it.
Life works in interesting ways.
Yeah.